Hello guys, it's Ryan Ho back on another video. Today we're talking about the VZR Model One. This is honestly one of the best gaming headsets you can ever get. I think for a wired gaming headset specifically, if you're looking for wireless gaming headsets, then we have things like the Audeze Maxwell. I think that would do a better job because it actually has wireless. While this one, for a pure wired experience, I think this is one of the best gaming headsets you can get on the market. I also do want to compare this headset to some other ones. So like we have the classic Hyperx Cloud Alpha S right here. This is kind of a cheaper, kind of more, Hyperx mainstream headset. We have the Drop PC38x. I think this is probably one of the best wired headphones you can get as well. And then of course, like I said earlier, we have the Maxwell that I consider this the best gaming headphone before, but I think the VZR Model One is actually in contention, if not better than the Maxwell, so we'll talk about that. So what makes the VZR Model One so good is they have these custom drivers that sound honestly cleaner and clearer than any gaming headset I've ever listened to. Even compared to the PC38x, it honestly has a cleaner and clear sound, and the tuning of it is honestly a little different too. This thing is a very, I guess, V-shaped type of sound signature to it, so it has a lot of bass. So if you want to like hear explosions, hear the roars and like Monster Hunter, and playing a lot of your shooting games, this one really kind of gives you that immersive aspect. You can really feel the explosion explode and hear like all the little details in there as well. I feel like that's the thing I like a lot about it. And the treble of this is also very clean and clear. This is one of the clearest sounding gaming headsets that I've ever listened to. And I think it's because the company and the people behind these are honestly experienced people, because I guess they have the Apple engineer who helped kind of do the tuning for Apple products, so they definitely have a lot of experience with it. So when it comes to just not only tuning but also having a good driver, honestly the driver is very, very, very good in this. A lot of people who are used to gaming headphones from gaming brands honestly are going to be blown away by this headset because it has so much more resolution, detail, and an actual good tuning that they'll honestly enjoy it a lot. Going into more detail about the VZR Model One, so you can see that it's about $350, so it is a more premium headset. With that price, you get a really, really nice build quality to this. So you can see that this thing has a carbon fiber kind of inserts right here, so it has this nice kind of texture to it. This whole thing is made of metal right here, so they're yokes. So if you're kind of raging, I know a lot of the gamers like to throw their headphones down. If you throw this headphone down, it will, not break. And of course, this is also reinforced with this kind of metal headband as well, with this kind of spring-loaded design. So these spring-loaded designs are just very comfy because they kind of adjust to the size of your head, and it kind of just hangs out and it kind of moves to the size of your head. So, even if you have a weird shaped head, you'll probably be fine with this. The ear pads are honestly huge. Like you could fit, I feel like it can fit anybody's head, ear into it, because it's so spacious. And I feel like this big spaciousness also kind of helps with this headphones, I guess, sound stage as well, because this headphone is a closed back headphone, so it's not an open back, so it won't leak sound. It actually blocks out the sound pretty effectively. So if you're kind of in a more noisy environment, it actually does help you isolate from the sound. So I find that very useful about this headset, but it doesn't really sound that closed in. I think it has to do with the fact that it has these kind of big pads, honestly, and they do help with, just keeping the sound sounding more like an open back rather than a closed back. But they also have their, they call it the crosswave technology. So if you actually look behind this kind of ear pad, you can see the driver. So the first thing I noticed about the driver is an angle driver. I just love angle drivers because I think they help with imaging a lot. It gives you better directionality when you're playing video games and a lot of competitive games. And that in combination with what they call their crosswave technology, but essentially they kind of bend the air kind of, I guess, to go around your ear a little bit more to make it sound more like you're listening to like natural like sounds outside. And I found that to be honestly pretty true. So I actually had no issue playing like Valorant with these. I could actually pinpoint where my enemies were, if they're above me, below me, like on the side, or if they're like behind a wall or through a smoke. Like this headphone does that really, really well. I think it's a combination of the angle driver and just this being very, very good imaging headphone. So in that sense, I think for a lot of competitive gamers, I definitely recommend this. So these ear pads are honestly really comfortable. You can see that they actually have some, I guess, dots right here. Maybe that helps you kind of locate which is the back. But when you actually look on the inside of these, they're actually perforated on the inside. So I think this kind of helps with the tuning of the headphone. And as well as these are actually really soft and like memory foams. If I push down, they kind of keep the shape a little bit. And of course, with the top comfort, right, these have these big little kind of, I guess, memory foam plushes. And these are also very nice and kind of comfortable to be on top of your head. And of course, as always, this headphone has all the adjustments required. So you really have no issues with it kind of conforming to your head and getting a nice kind of fit with it. If I had to complain about anything about this, it's probably these cable right here is really nice, but I find these holes to be very small because I was actually trying to plug in other cables and they weren't as small and they couldn't actually fit in the hole because of this kind of design of it. If that's one thing I could complain about, is that it's designed to fit really thin kind of cables inside. But the actual cables that it comes with are really kind of nice and easy to use. So we have this kind of microphone cable. This comes with a kind of mute mic on there, and then it kind of terminates into a kind of headphone and a microphone. So two 3.5 millimeter jacks, so you can kind of plug it into your PC or computer. Obviously, this also comes with this adapter, right? So you can actually just plug in directly if you have a combo jack. So it has both options available for whatever you kind of have. I know I was actually plugging this into the Sound Blaster G8. This thing is really good. It actually uses a combo microphone and headphone jack. And because it comes with cable, I can plug it in. And for, you know, a gaming DAC, this thing is really good because, you know, it's a better DAC than something on your PC, but it also is a better microphone input as well. It sounds a little bit cleaner and clear. So this is something I would definitely suggest people to pair with the VZR Model One if you're trying to get kind of more out of your audio. So the VZR Model One actually does come with a case. This is kind of a nice kind of, I guess, soft case. And you have actually a 1/4 inch adapter that comes with inside. You also get, I guess, an extension cable as well in there. So yeah, you get a nice case to kind of protect your headphones with it. So let's talk about sound. So the VZR Model One is a V-shaped type of sound, right? So it has emphasized bass and it has emphasized treble, and then the kind of mid-range kind of takes just a little bit step back. And what that really translates to is, you know, you get a lot of those gunshots to sound really good. You can hear all the gunshots above everything else, but also all your explosions, your bombs, and, you know, a lot of your deep bass notes. You can hear that very clearly. You actually get really nice deep sub bass notes as well. So if you're listening to like a lot of like EDM music and stuff like that, you're going to get a lot of that from that, and you're getting a lot of hard-hitting bass notes as well. This thing definitely has a pretty elevated bass, so I think a lot of gamers are going to enjoy this type of sound. Now, if you're a competitive gamer, I actually find the bass to not really interfere too much with sound. Obviously, it has more bass than other kind of more lean, more what you consider competitive gaming headphones that have little to no bass. This one has a really competent driver, so even though it has the bass, it doesn't really kind of sound, I guess, dirty or muddy. You can really hear all the sounds through it anyways. At least that's what I think, in my opinion. And I feel like the real thing about this is it's a V-shaped sound. That's pretty much what most people like, most consumer likes. I think a lot of Sony people would kind of like this because like Sony kind of makes their sound kind of similar to this with a lot of bass and a lot of like treble, a very V-shaped type of sound as well. So I feel like the sound that they actually came with this is very, very good. Now, of course, like if you're listening to like dialogue, you know, like male, female kind of voices like that, I feel like they are just slightly pushed back in the mix due to the tuning, but it's not that bad, but they definitely are more pushed back than something like the PC38x. This one, I feel like has more of that mid-range, more of those vocals in there, but it doesn't have that kind of bass punch, that bass emphasis, that sub bass that the VZR Model One has. This one just has a lot better kind of bass, and the treble also sounds a lot cleaner and clearer. It has overall just a better driver, so it sounds honestly cleaner overall than the PC38x, but the PC38x is probably good if you just like to listen to a lot of vocals, I guess, or dialogue. You want it to sound very kind of forward, then I feel like this is a good headphone. But for resolution, you know, bass and treble, this is definitely better. And then something like the Hyperx Alpha S, this honestly doesn't even like compare to the VZR Model One. This thing basically just blows it apart. It's better in every single way. If you're looking for what true resolution sounds like, I think you'll hear that through the the VZR Model One, to be honest. We have the Audeze Maxwell. Obviously, this is kind of a different product, right? This is kind of EQ. It is more of a wireless headphone, Bluetooth headphone, while the VZR Model One is more of a wired headphone, but they're both kind of in the same price point. I think this one's like 330, this is 350, and they're kind of competing in that same space. So I did compare both of these wired. So this one through the USB Type-C, and then this one through obviously the wired. And I did find that the VZR actually has better resolution than the Maxwell. It has better dynamics. So like if you're listening to like Bond's Explosion, they kind of rumble and shake your head more than the Maxwell. So it does make you feel like you're more in the environment, more immersed in the environment on the VZR Model One. So I did like that a lot. There's much more bass quantity, so you can hear a lot more of the bass than the default tuning of the Audeze. But the Audeze, because it uses digital tuning, it does have a better kind of mid-range. So like those vocals, like I was talking earlier, they do sound a little bit more present on the Audeze Maxwell. But then in the treble, I find the treble to be just more forward on the Model One, and it sounds cleaner. I find the separation between the sounds also to be better on the Model One. It has, not only does it have, I guess, better imaging, so it's telling exactly where things are, but the sounds kind of, you can feel like the depth of the sound. Everything kind of sounds like they're in the kind of more of the same plane on the Maxwell, but on the Model One, they have better separation. So you can definitely hear that just the overall sound, the driver, and the sound stage is just better on the Model One. And so honestly, if you're looking for just pure wired sound quality, the Model One is definitely better. Obviously, for a wireless headphone, this is still the best wireless headphone that I've listened to for the Maxwell. All right, so this is the VZR Model One. So this is what the microphone sounds like through the actual Sound Blaster G8, which is really nice. So the Sound Blaster G8 basically has a DAC and amp inside of it, but it also takes a microphone input. So it's a pretty high quality kind of device for you to use, especially for gamers, because it takes both of those inputs. So it's really nice. So let me know how you guys think it sounds. And of course, I did a mic test of this, and the mic sounds honestly really wonderful on this too, so I have no complaints about that, which basically leads me to a conclusion. So like I said, I tested this amongst all my best gaming headsets, and I definitely think this is the best gaming headset I've tried so far. This thing has a good microphone. It's built really well. The sound quality and the driver is really good. You can tell the positional accuracy of your opponents, and you still get that nice thumpy bass. I feel like this headphone is really good for a lot of gamers, and I definitely recommend the VZR Model One.